Okay.
Hi, good day, Muzi. How are you?
But no complaints. Uh, can I put this on the test?
Yes, I've made you co-host.
Okay, thanks.
Good morning, Gesh.
Good morning, Chair.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
I can hear you
Am
guys.
Am I properly appearing on your side?
Yes, you are, Chair.
All right, thank you. Just indicate when members are here so we can
Will
start.
do. Will do. Thank you, Muzi. We can see that clearly.
Okay, but thank you so much.
Please flight the agenda as well while we are waiting for other members.
Will do, Chair.
All right, thank you.
Morning, Chair.
Morning, Memanchobe Njani.
Morning, sir.
Ndiyaphila Chair, unjani?
I'm okay. Advocate
My-
Nkosi Nonkonya.
My apologies, Chair, before the meeting starts, concerning the video. Hey, the weather this side, it's not in our favor.
We know we are with
windy.
you guys.
Yes. Thanks,
We
Chair.
know. Your apologies noted of the video.
How are you?
I'm okay. And you, Nkosi?
Oh, I'm fine. Very, very.
All right.
Didn't see you today. You were so lovely, wearing white glamorous yesterday. Can I see?
Hayi mute Nkosi. Uzakhuluma ezinye. Uzangezinye manje.
Okay. Hey, Secretary and Chair, I'm on my way to town for a stronger whatever. I may be cut off on the way, but I'll be on all the time. My apology if I'm cut off, but I'm on.
Noted.
Whip.
Nkosi, just don't disrupt us. Keep your mic mute, and then the meeting will be just in session and in order.
Yes. I'm on. I'll be hearing you. You might not hear me.
Chairperson, we may begin.
Thank you, Gesh. Good morning, colleagues and honorable members. Members, one would want to welcome everyone on the platform. I would want to greet the Minister, Deputy Minister, DG Tomi Makobe, DDG Operations Tulani Mavoso,
Recording in progress.
DDG HRMD Nell Johnson, CFO Acting DDG IMS Gordon Holambay, and Acting DDG Civic Services Patrick Williams, DDG Counter Corruption Konimu Iti, PLO Andrew Guam in our meeting. And I know that some of you don't know our members. With us on the side of the NCOP Select Committee for Security and Justice, we have Honorable Billy from KZN representing the DA, and we have Honorable Zulu from MKP representing MKP from Mpumalanga, and we have Northwest Honorable Midupi representing the ANC, and Northern Cape we have Honorable Mokai representing the DA, and here in the Western Cape we have Honorable Gotza representing the DA, and Honorable Gerik representing the EFF. And at the Western Cape we have Honorable Advocate Nonkonyani representing the ANC, and Honorable Ntobeni representing the EFF as well from the Eastern Cape. I hope members, you have noted that she has actually put an apology that her video would be off because we know there's a crisis there at Mtata. And from the side of Free State, we have Honorable Norway representing the ANC, and from Limpopo, we have Honorable Pala representing the ANC. And Gauteng is myself representing the ANC. So we are your composition from the side of the NCOP, as members of this select committee. So, Minister, before I start with my opening, I just want to indicate that we are very dissatisfied by the fact that we got this presentation last night, yet you got our memo around May. So it is important that you note that your bureaucracies or protocols in your office must not destabilize us to execute our oversight and accountability. We had to rush in terms of reading the presentation, but I know members, they know that in this select committee, we have agreed that all our recommendations will follow through in terms of the plans of the department and ensure that everything that we would want to achieve as the select committee, it is there. I just want you to note that, please, next time, can we have at least presentation a day before, earlier, not at night, or a week before, so that we are able to do our oversight. So just note it that we are very disappointed by the fact that we got these presentations yesterday. However, we are here, we're going to be ensuring that we do diligent to the presentation and as well to this budget vote 5. We welcome the news reports of 2 more people who have been arrested as part of continuing investigation into a suspected fraudulent passport scam in Durban. We strongly discourage all forms of corrupt activities in all departments, and we welcome the fact that this matter is being addressed. Today, we received a briefing on the department's strategic plan, APP, and budget. And the nice thing about today's meeting is the fact that as the NCOP, we come from our strategic plan session, and as well, the strat plan has been adopted by members. So this session is going to be an interactive session following through what we have resolved on as program of action from our side as well, vis-a-vis the budget vote and the strategic plan and AAPP. We have scheduled a separate briefing with the GPW and BMA for the next week for a more detailed discussion on the strategic plans and APPs. However, for the purposes of dealing with vote 5, we know that the department has been allocated 11.6 billion for the 2025-2026 financial year. This is a drop of 1.03 billion from the adjusted appropriation of 12.1 billion in the 2024-2025 financial year. We note the BMA has only 2 programs with a total budget of 1.8 billion in the current financial year of 2025-2026. We were pleased with the report of drones being operational at border posts. And Minister, one can confirm that during Easter period, I have actually experienced that those drones, they are very effective and they are working and they are going to assist us in terms of ensuring that we secure our borders. We note that in respect of the Independent Electoral Commission, the total budget of the commission has decreased from 3.19 billion in the previous financial year to 1.26 billion. in the current financial year of 2025-2026. To facilitate the successful execution of the upcoming local government election, the Commission will receive an additional allocation of 885 million rand in 2026-2027. The committee has looked forward to receiving a brief update on preparation for the local government election. Government printing works will note the overall budget of the GPW has slightly increased by 5.5%, which is 98.3 million in nominal terms, from 1.7 billion. In the 2024-2025 financial year to 1.8 billion in the current financial year 2025-2026. We will engage directly with the GPW at our meeting next week to actually see it through the issues of is it going to be fit for purpose what has been allocated for them. We are pleased that the department has provided the committee with a list of relevant legislations for the upcoming years, as well as detailed provincial information which members will be able to engage with. We welcome the presentation of the department minister on the basis that we have noted, as we've been working with yourselves, that it is indeed important that we prioritize digitalization and modernization of our services. The issue of decentralizing offices as well, we want to welcome as the select committee, issues of ensuring that we don't leave anyone behind in terms of inclusion of services for those of the rural areas. We want to welcome those decision taking by the department, noting that would be here side by side in terms of ensuring that we protect the public fiscus on issues of no to corruption and as well intolerance of lawlessness in our sector. With that being said, I declare this meeting officially opened. I would want to hand over to you, Minister, so that you can give to your department delegation in terms of taking us on the briefing with regards to vote number 5, strategic plan and annual plans, performance plans. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson Mananiso. It's always good to see you and good to be with this very capable NCOP team. So let me also from the department side acknowledge the work of this committee and also welcome the officials who will be taking us in detail through these presentations today. Chair, let me start by acknowledging your comment about the timeliness of the presentations. I think, DG, if we can take note of that, that is unfortunate, and I apologize. I was not aware that it was delayed by that much. Certainly, it was, from my point of view, ready earlier. So sorry about that. I think the advantage, though, of the process we've gone through over the last few months as it pertains to the budget more broadly is that a lot of this is not brand new. Obviously, there have been a lot of adjustments as we've gone along, but I hope that that will assist members, that some of these things will not be the first time that we will be discussing them. Nonetheless, I think that the direction is taken. Chair, thank you also for your introductory comments. I would also just like to add one or two thoughts along the same vein as we set the scene for the presentation on the strat plan and the APP. Indeed, as you've correctly said, the focus on digital transformation is our apex priority, and it is the golden thread that runs through all of these documents and all of the initiatives that we are implementing. I think this is a very exciting space for our country with a number of really signature initiatives that are underway and that are contained in the APP, even for this coming 12 months. And so I think the committee can look forward to a number of those initiatives being rolled out with the appropriate urgency that is required in the country. So I think a number of those initiatives would include the electronic travel authorization that we've spoken a lot about, that we will use to digitalize the visa system. Then there's, on the civic side, really dramatically expanding access to Home Affairs services through expanding the successful existing cooperation with a number of banks to many more bank branches, as well as the provision of Home Affairs services through digital channels, including on cell phone and banking apps, to really deliver on that pledge of Home Affairs at home. Also initiatives related to the delivery of enabling documents through courier services to lessen the queues and the requirement for everyone to go and collect these documents, so to go back a second time to Home Affairs. These are, I think, a number of the really practical initiatives that we are focused on. So, of course, there's an entire infrastructure behind making this happen. But those are really the tangible benefits that we are looking to deliver for South Africans that they will experience. And I think a number of these initiatives have already yielded fruit. The fact that permanent residents and naturalized citizens are now able to obtain smart IDs for the first time ever is really an important step towards inclusion, as well as initiatives like the Trusted Tour Operator Scheme, where I can report to the committee that we are now sitting with 15,000 travelers from China and India in the space of, I think, 3.5 months, who have been able to obtain their visa securely, eliminating the issues of inefficiency that has held back tourism from those markets. So I think there's a lot that's already happening, but I'm really positive about this strategic plan and the APP actually supercharging that reform process and delivering a lot more tangible benefits for South Africans and for the South African economy over the next 12 months and then over the period of the strategic plan. So, Chair, I really want to thank the team who have worked on this. There's been a lot of work that's gone into reorienting the vision and the approach around digital transformation. And I think that the committee's guidance on a number of these issues is always also appreciated, as well as I think the really universal understanding that if South Africa uses technology in smart ways, we are actually going to move far more quickly than we would have under sort of the more manual processes that we are used to. So thank you, Chair, for the opportunity. And with your permission, I would like to then hand over to the DG and his team to take the committee through the specifics. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Permission granted.
Good morning, Chairperson. I hope you can hear me well.
We can. It is important as well for you to switch on your camera and then you can switch off, then continue with your presentation. But if you don't have a problem about the connectivity, then you can continue with the video on.
No, thank you so much, Chairperson, and good morning to you and honorable members. Good morning to the Minister, the team from the Department of Home Affairs, and also the CEO of GPW. I think she has joined us for this session. So we're here to present, Chair, to the Select Committee, the revised strategic plan for 2025 to 2030, but also the revised annual performance plan. You'll recall that following the tabling of the budget, we've had to revise these documents, Chairperson. So through you, maybe I'll ask for permission just to switch off the video for better connectivity.
Permission granted. You can continue.
Thank you. So this is the outline, Chairperson, of the presentation. So firstly, we will then deal with the changes that we have had to effect on both the strategic plan and the APP. And then the Minister has already provided an introduction as to what do we mean by this new Home Affairs at home. And then we'll reflect on the changes that we have made to the vision, the mission, the values, and then, of course, the mandate and outcomes for 2025 to 2030. And then our contribution to the National Development Plan. And then, of course, the MTDP, what role and what are the inputs that we've made, and then the reflections on the 2025 State of the Nation commitments, and then other departmental priorities. And then, of course, we'll go back to the strategic plan just to reflect on what is the impact statement, what are the outcome indicators and the targets, and then those key priorities that are linked to the APP. As you know, the APP, it's an annual document that we table before you and the portfolio committee. So on the next slide, then it just continues with the detail in terms of the issues that you have asked us to come and present, Chair. Its key provincial achievements and challenges. You've also asked for an update on the service delivery challenges. What are the successes and the way forward? There will be a separate presentation done by DDG Mavuso with regards to that. And then the progress with regards to addressing backlogs in the permitting area, and then the upcoming legislation for this financial year. We'll also request the CFO to present on the budget for 2025-26, and then also the next 3-year horizon, including the allocation that has been made to provinces. And then there was also a request that we provide a report on unauthorized and irregular expenditure. I must say, Chair, that currently what we will present to you, it's currently still being audited by the AG, so the figures that will be shared are currently unaudited, including irregular expenditure, fruitless and wasteful expenditure, and then material losses through criminal conduct, and then the recommendations. So that's the outline of the presentation, Chair. So the purpose is really to brief the select committee, as we have stated, on all these areas that I've just highlighted.
DG,
can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you. I just want to caution you going word by word and emphasizing on issues that we know, like as you are doing now, in terms of the purpose of presentation is to do 1, 2, 3. Yeah, just make it a point that you go where we need to zoom in terms of what we are doing here. Members got this presentation, and I think we are inclined in terms of processes thereof of APPs.
Thank you, Chair, for the guidance. I'll do that. So at a high level, that's just the purpose of the presentation. I'm not going to repeat. I've already stated that. So the changes are really on this slide, Chairperson. You'll recall that we had tabled this strategic plan and APP on the 3rd of April. We then had to revise it following concerns that had been raised by the Portfolio Committee on timelines. In particular, on the white paper, you will note on your right, we now have amended the draft white paper on citizenship, immigration, and refugee protection. We'll still be submitting it to Cabinet for consideration and approval during this financial year. And then the following year, Chairperson, it will be submitted to Cabinet for consideration so that we're able to publish for public comments. And in the outer year, it will be with Parliament for introduction as a bill. So that takes care of the first slide, Chairperson. Slide number 6, Chair, just gives you an indication in terms of where are the changes that have been effected on the outcome that relates to how we contribute to positioning the department to contribute to a capable and developmental state. So this is a raft of legislative framework that we currently are working on. And if you look on the right again, the targets that are reflected are targets that will take us right up to 2030, including the amended white paper on citizenship, immigration, and refugee protection. And then, of course, will then take, as I've indicated, that white paper to be considered by a cabinet and introduction in Parliament. And then critical, it's what Minister was referring to, digital identity policy that will be submitted as well by the 31st, and then the identification and registration bill for introduction to Parliament. And the last one is the Home Affairs Bill. So if we can move to the next slide. The next slide, Chair, basically indicates the changes that we've made to the birth registration target in the 2025-26 financial year. Previously, in the previous document, it was 500,000. So we've changed this target, Chairperson, to 600,000. for this financial year, the next financial year, and then the outer year. Amongst the reasons that we have cited is that at a global level, the birth rate is currently declining, and as a result, the majority of the births at mainly where you come from, Chair, in Gauteng, if you go to Charlotte Maxeke and Raima Musa, it's mainly foreign national females that are giving birth in those hospitals, and that's confirmed by the Department of Health. But also we're working with UCT on some of these areas that I've highlighted on the reasons why there's this declining birth rate, not only affecting South Africa, but almost all over the world. And then, of course, we also indicate the misalignment of working hours between ourselves and the Department of Health, which is something that we're working on. In fact, in the bill, there's provision for us to be able to operate throughout. So if we can move to the next target, Chair, on slide number 8, it then gives you an indication of changes that we've made in the immigration space. We've now broken that target in terms of identified sectors. We will illustrate for those targets that are dealing with the 200,000 DHA-led enforcement inspections in the provinces. We do work with a lot of the Metro Police, Joburg Metro, work with the Metro Police in Tshwane. It will be the same. In Cape Town, it will be the same. Because we don't have a huge staff complement that can conduct all these inspections on their own. And then we've also revised the technical indicator descriptor, which means we've now given some thought in terms of how do we then say we've achieved this target through this means of verification columns. And then on the civic services side, we've expanded that target to include permanent residents, and naturalized citizens are already part of that scope. Slide number 9, Chair, then gives you a flavor of what is referred to as by Home Affairs from Home. So if you look at this strategic plan and APP, Chair, it then gives you a key into this vision to digitally transform the Department of Home Affairs over the next 5 years. And of course, how will we know that we have succeeded? It will be by delivering this digitally transformed organization where we would have digitized our offerings in civic services, in immigration and refugee services in a very decentralized manner, whether through electronic channels, so that we're able to expand inclusion and, of course, providing dignity. So if you look at the GNU vision, all the activities that we have highlighted are actually anchored on the apex priorities of the GNU, mainly to grow the economy, create jobs, reduce poverty, and build a capable and developmental state. And of course, once we are digitally transformed, we should be able to make a huge contribution to the 3 priorities. If we can move to the next slide, number 10. These are some of the key elements of a digitally transformed Home Affairs, where we'll introduce digital ID and, of course, the new e-passport. We'll do this by expanding these services to more than 1,000 locations around the country. This is work, Chair, that we will do with the banks, and we'll be able to demonstrate how we have allocated this over the next 3 years. And then, of course, the introduction of other digital channels where people are able to apply for documentation online, including the delivery of these documents at their doorstep. And then, of course, we'll also ensure that we finalize the electronic travel authorization system to automate and digitize the visa application process, which means from beginning to end. You can do that at the comfort of your home. And of course, the ETA will also be aligned to what the border management is currently doing, which is to automate entry and exit at all the ports of entries. On slide number 11, Chair, it's just a continuation of the potential that a digital transformed Home Affairs will unlock for the country. Amongst others, of course, the world is changing at a very fast pace. We'll be able to adopt new digital tools and technologies, but also a rethink about how we conduct our businesses and models. And then, of course, we need to change the organizational culture and mindset. But how will we know we've succeeded? It will be through improved customer experiences, through these digital channels, and then using data for decision making. That's slide number 11. On slide number 12, Chair, this is just a graphic illustration. On the right, you'll be able to see that you can then apply for your document from the comfort of your home using your laptop or your smartphone, and then there'll be facial recognition in the same way that you conduct facial recognition or verification when you visit or when you are at home doing your banking, and then the payment on online channels. And then you can then have a choice of the delivery method, whether you'll collect at the office or the bank, or it can be delivered at your doorstep. So that's just a graphic illustration. So slide number 13 then speaks to the vision that we now have outlined. The key word there in the middle is that we now indicate that we should deliver home affairs at home, and then a digitally transformed organization which will drive economic growth, job creation, and of course, enhancing national security and deliver efficient and dignified services to clients. On the top right, it's really the mandate of the department broadly categorized into civic services and immigration. And then the outcomes are highlighted below. And then what's key is to emphasize the values which we have indicated that our higher purpose, of course, is to build a home affairs that delivers dignity and works for all. And of course, we'll strive for higher purpose, which is anchored on ethical conduct, courageous action, innovative thinking, caring interactions, and being solutions driven. That's really what's captured on this slide, Chair. Slide number 14 then starts to provide our contribution to the NDP. As you know, Chair, currently we've got these enormous challenges or interlinked challenges of poverty, inequality, and unemployment. And therefore, we have a role to play in terms of contributing to these objectives of the NDP. Amongst others, it will be by inclusion of all citizens in democracy and development, which is enabled by providing them with status and identity. Of course, this then gives them access to rights and services. And then we also point out that we'll also work with the Department of Higher Education and Training in developing the skills, critical skills list, and then the work that the BMA does to drive integrated and coordinated border management. And of course, we also have a role to play in the region, in particular in SADC. We do that working with the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, so that we have what we indicate to establish efficient, secure, and managed migration. And of course, we believe that we are central to harnessing the opportunities that are presented by technological developments towards building a capable and developmental state, including how the modernization program that the department has embarked on will be able to deal with issues of fraud, corruption, but also reduce the cost of doing business through e-government. So if we move to slide number 15, Chair, I'll really focus on the strategic intervention indicators because the strategic priority, you've already reflected on it earlier, or I reflected on it, which is really to drive inclusive growth and job creation. So if you look at the strategic intervention indicators here, we do have 3 areas that we believe we can assist the country in order to attract skills, promote investment, and grow the tourism sector. Chairperson, we have introduced 2 initiatives, the Trusted Tour Operator Scheme, which we have already implemented. It is part of our midterm target. And then we have also introduced the Trusted Employer Scheme and the Trusted Tour Operator. Minister just indicated that this initiative that we've just launched on the Trusted Tour Operator is already brought into the country more than 15,000 tourists, predominantly from China and India. And similarly, Mr. Simons, who's with us, drives the Trusted Employer Scheme. We've just opened up for the second cohort. This is where your major companies apply for visas to bring in critical skills. As you know, that there's global mobility, particularly in the motor sector. And then, of course, we'll want to reduce the time in terms of processing visa applications. Here, we focus on critical skills, and we've said we'll want to issue 95% of these within 4 weeks. And similarly, by the end of the term, that remains the target. And then the exciting work that we're doing on the implementation of the electronic travel authorization, that work is underway, and we'll want to start with 2 categories for tourist and short-term or short-stay visas. And then by the end of the term, it will be that ETA, which will be implemented for all visa categories, which means we'll be doing an incremental increase on these categories. Thank you. If we can move to 16. Here, Chairperson, on the contribution towards building a capable, ethical, and developmental state, we'll want to ensure that all South Africans are able to obtain smart and digital IDs and e-passports. And one of the things that we'll want to work on towards is the replacement of green barcoded IDs, which a lot of the banks and also studies have indicated that they are easier to defraud. Now, the midterm target that's highlighted, of course, we'll want to discontinue the issuing of green ID books through, of course, the partnerships that we have and also the kiosks and also the banks that will be assisting us with enrolling more people, which is the end target that we are aiming for by the end of the term, universal enrollment in smart ID system. Once we have done that, Chair, we believe that we should be able to introduce a digital ID with remote authentication. And that digital ID, once it's created, you'll be able to have a digital wallet wherein, Chair, you'll be able to add as many credentials as possible, but we are aiming at least for 15, which means you'll be able to load information that is related to your banks, information that will be related to your rates, and so on and so forth. That's what the digital wallet, which will be created, it will be secured. And then we want to make sure that we expand our footprints to 1,000 banks. That's the midterm target. And then, of course, with that, we should be able to reach more people, particularly where we're not currently providing live capture. And then, of course, the introduction and issuance of e-passports, that's something that we're working towards. And we hope that by the end of the term, we should be able to issue e-passports. If we can move to slide number 17, Mozi. Slide number 17, Chair, relates to the commitments that were made by the President in the State of the Nation. I've already spoken about the ETA, which will be driven by artificial intelligence and machine learning. And then, of course, the first components of digital identity, so that we're able to address or deal with the identity fraud, but also expand social and financial inclusion. And then I've spoken about implementing the trusted tour operator scheme. And then, of course, there's 45 additional companies that we've just added. And we believe that will then assist us to bring in tourists from China and India in particular. And then, of course, we're working towards eliminating that permitting backlog. If we can then move to other priorities, I think most of these have already highlighted. The first one then deals with really implementation of the DHA repositioning program so that we're able to give effect to what is contained in the white paper on Home Affairs. And then I've spoken about the need to ensure that the work that we have started in the sixth administration of digitizing 340 million paper-based records continues. And then, of course, modernizing our network systems to ensure that there's stability. All these are part of digital transformation initiatives. And then, of course, the introduction of a digital ID and e-passport by 2029. And then, of course, the automation of the birth registration process for both citizens and also foreigners in public and private health facilities. Slide number 19, Chair, then continues to provide other departmental priorities, including the triple P, so that we are able to enhance our economical or activities or to enhance economic growth. And then we also indicate the expansion of our footprint through mobile trucks, kiosks, and also the partnership that we have with the private institutions, including the banks. In fact, we actually wrote to all the banks to signal to them that we will want to expand our footprint. And those that are interested have already signaled their intents. And of course, we'll work towards getting that clean audit including the implementation of the Protection of Personal Information Act, the activities thereof, and support for the district development model. And then key here, Chair, is also the fight against gender-based violence and femicide, and of course, aligning ourselves with the Just Transition Framework. And compliance to international, regional, and national commitments that would have made to the UN and at a regional level. On slide number 21, basically speaks to the strategic plan. The impact statement that's highlighted at the top, Chair, is of course to complete the digital transformation of Home Affairs into a digital-first department, where we will want to ensure that the citizen empowerment and of course the delivery of dignified services to clients. These are some of the activities that we would like to do by 2030. One is to really take a developmental approach to managing immigration, which means we're taking a risk-based approach so that we're able to grow the economy and create jobs. On this slide, Chair, we indicate the work that we will do with regards to Operation Vulindlela, which is led by the presidency. We're now working on phase 2 of Operation Vulindlela. In phase 1, we have started with the implementation of a point-based system, a remote work visa, the trusted employer scheme, and the tour operator, which I've just highlighted. And we hope that the ETA by September will be fully operational. And then, of course, there's work that we intend to do around critical skills and also to update the critical skills as and when it's required, so that we're able to accommodate new skills that will emerge. Slide number 22. Again, I'll focus on the right. Here, the indicator that we reflect, it's really a percentage of new Asylum applications that will be finalized within 180 working days from date of registration on the ASM system. This is the Asylum Seeker Management System. It's a new indicator. By the year 2030, we hope that we'll have finalized 90% of new Asylum Seeker applications that are finalized within 180 days. And then indicate the following indicator will speak to the number of enabling documents issued to citizens and permanent residents, predominantly 2 enabling documents, birth and also smart ID cards. We want to ensure that by the end of the term, a minimum of 17,085,500 enabling documents have been issued to citizens and those that are permanent residents. This includes the 3.3 million of birth and also the smart cards. The indication is 13.7 million. And then, of course, I've already spoken about ensuring that we replace the green barcoded ID. Of course, the end game is to ensure that we have a universal enrollment in the smart ID system. We can move to slide number 23. Slide number 23 basically speaks to us doing our work to ensure that we have an integrated identity system which is operational. The baseline is to ensure that the identity system or the specifications thereof are approved by the DG. And then, of course, on the e-visa and the ETA, all those will then contribute by the end of the term to a single view of travelers, both South African citizens and also foreigners. And then there are activities that we're doing, Chair. For example, how do we start automating some of the activities internally that are related to support services? This will include your leave. This will include your performance management. How do we track invoices? E-invoice tracking is what we're trying to do. And then the reporting to the Department of M&E and the verification. And then above, it's just some of the activities that we will be automating, including all those activities that I've highlighted there, and also the various visa categories that we've said we will add to the ETA incrementally. And then slide number 24 then speaks to the introduction of a digital ID with remote authentication. I've already spoken about this. It's a new performance indicator. I've spoken about the 15 additional credentials that will be added. And then, of course, the work that we're doing to digitize the 340 million civic paper-based records. We want to ensure that we work towards 36.8, which will translate to 125 million records digitized between 2025 and 2030. Slide number 25 then speaks to the white paper. I'm not going to repeat a lot of this. This is the regulatory framework, Chairperson. I've spoken about the amended white paper, which will be submitted to Cabinet. I also indicated that the legislation thereof will be finalized. We've brought actually this target closer to 2027, 2028. And then, of course, we'll need to make sure that as we introduce a digital ID, there's a digital identity policy which Cabinet would have approved by the 31st of March 2026, including the National Identification and Registration Bill. So slide number 26 then speaks to DHA priorities that are linked to the APP. So this is just an introduction of the link between what we're doing in the APP and how it's linked to what is in the strategic plan. So I'll really focus on the third column, which speaks really to what are the intentions or what are the activities that we'll do to digitally transform the DHA. One of the activities that we have highlighted there, it's an ETA solution for study and critical skills developed. You'll recall, Chair, I said we will incrementally add the other visa categories. And then in the outer year, we'll then introduce the same ETA for work and spousal visas. And then I've spoken about the developmental of digital identity, which we hope will have created or started and piloted. And of course, what is key is that we need to have a foundational public key infrastructure for digital identity configures. This is key. And then, of course, we'll work on the e-passport, including the technical specifications, which will be approved by the CIO. And then by the end of that, we want to ensure that we've tested some of these at ports of entry and the e-gates. I've spoken about the 25 million records that will strive to ensure that they are digitized in 2026, 27, and then 27, 28. Of course, for the current financial year, we're still aiming for 25. And then we also aim for this year, financial year, to have 10 offices with live capture functionality for smart ID cards. And then incrementally, we will add 10 up to the outer year. And then the last part then deals with the 100 bank branches that we will provide with live capture functionality so that people are able to apply for smart ID cards and passports at all these banks that we will have identified. And then in the outer year, we'll have added another 500 on top of the 400 that we'll add in the financial year 26-27. So if we can move to the next slide. The next slide then just speaks to the capabilities that will be developed, particularly this financial year, for the method of delivery for smart ID cards and passport, particularly at your doorstep or your places of delivery. So we'll work on that in this financial year, and then the following year, it will be the delivery of that's implemented similarly with the 2027-28. And then the second critical one here, the target is on the rollout of online birth registration. We'll start by focusing on 25 health facilities, and then in the bottom column, it's 47 health facilities that will be automated, and then we'll add 45 in 26-27, and then in the outer year, an additional 45. And then the next one then speaks to 3 automated corporate services process offices. I've already spoken to the e-leave model, to the performance management, to invoice tracking. So these targets, we hope we'll have done them this financial year, and therefore they won't be applicable in the outer years. And then we'll also want to ensure, as part of the work that we're doing with the University of Pretoria and the PCETA, 2,500 DHA officials trained on digital literacy interventions, and then increasing that to 3,005 and then 4,000, so that what we're doing with regards to digital transformation as the methods of service delivery change, our employees are also enhanced and capacitated, and where skills training is required in other areas, we'll really do that. On slide number 29, this is the birth registration target. I've already spoken to why we're reducing it to 600,000 and then the other target, it's really the issuance of 2.7 million smart ID cards to those citizens that are 16 years of age and above, and then 90% of machine readable adult passports. It will be the same target next year, and of course in the outer year 90%, and then below it's 90% of machine readable passports for children. We're placing that at 90%, next year 90%, and in the following outer year 27, 28, 90%. So if we can move to the next one, this basically relates to the work that we do in permitting. The first one is really permanent residence permit outcomes. 85% of that's the target we're aiming for, to finalize this within 8 months. And then 85% of permanent residence permits related to skills, the skills section. You will note that there's a difference between Section A and Section B. Section A deals with general work and Section B critical skills. And then there's a Section C, 27C, that deals with business. So those we hope will finalize within 8 months. And then other critical skills, we'll finalize them within the target that we've put for ourselves is 95% this financial year, and also in the 2 outer years. Similarly, with the business visa, 90%, and then 90 in the outer year, and then 90% of general work visa, and then 95 in the other financial years. So if we can move to 31. 31 then speaks to the work that we're doing on trusted employer scheme. We want to finalize those within, or the percentage is 95% of those issued within 4 weeks. I can assure you, Chair, that this is a one-stop shop that includes the Department of Trade and Industry, Department of Labor, Department of Home Affairs, and the DTIC. So the colleagues converge at one meeting, and given the fact that this is done online, they just converge to reconfirm the awards to these employers that will have received the scheme. It's something that's been doing quite well, so we want to continue with that in the next financial year and also in the outer year. Similarly, we want to finalize 90% of general work visas outcomes within 8 weeks, and then 85% of virtual port of entry outcomes finalized within 5 working days. This, I think, for sure, in the outer years will reduce to probably 3 or 2, because at the current rate at which we are operating, it's work that's being done at a very fast pace, so that we're able to attract tourists into our country. And then 85% of visual port of entry visas finalized within 10 days. If we can move to the next one. I've already spoken about this with regards to law enforcement operations and inspections. The target is 2,000, and then 26, 27, 2,000, outer year, another 2,000. You'll note that we've sort of maintained the same targets because we are not getting any new money to do anything additional. We're trying to do more with the little that we have, including the 90% of new asylum seeker applications that will be finalized at that level. And then we intend to at least ensure that there's 40,000 of deportations that are conducted per year. And similarly, in the next financial year and also in the outer year. So below, Chair, it's really law enforcement operations or inspections. For now, we're focusing on those 10 targeted sectors. This does not mean, Chairperson and honorable members, that we do not focus on other areas. We do focus on other areas. And in this instance, we'll be focusing on spaza shops, your hospitality industry, the logistics companies, farms, mines, retail, hair salons, right up to private sector security providers. So that's just an indication in terms of targets, so that whatever we're doing, it's measurable. If we can move to slide number 34 as we move towards the end. Slide number 34, Chair, then speaks to the number of bills that I've spoken about, the policy framework. I've indicated that we intend to ensure that we submit to Cabinet the Home Affairs Bill, the digital identity policy, and also the draft amended white paper on citizenship, immigration, and refugee protection. And we hope that by 26-27 financial year, all those will be bills that will then be submitted to yourselves in Parliament for consideration. And then in the outer years, we'll then introduce that bill. So that's what we have on slide number 33. Slide number 34 then deals with the activities that we do in terms of fighting fraud and corruption. For this financial year, there's 12 reviews that are being planned so that we're able to identify activities related to fraud, corruption, and security breaches. And then, of course, the 80% of reported cases on fraud and corruption. And then the next one, really on threat analysis, it's quite important because it enables us to look at threats and risk assessment. So we're targeting 40 for this financial year, 40 in the next year, and also in the outer year. And then the vetting of files, 400, which we mainly refer to SSA for evaluation. Just two categories that we'll be looking at, top secret and then confidential files. We're keeping the same target for 26, 27, and also the outer year. And then if we can move to slide number 35. So that's just the targets in terms of the work that we'll be doing in the business process reviews, what we'll do in Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, just to illustrate that the reviews differ. In Q1, we'll be looking at the asylum process, and then also multiple birth, and then first-time applications. And then if you look at Q2, it differs. We'll be using it identity allocation and the review of the population register and passport collections. And then in Q4, we then look at who has been admitted onto the National Population Register, particularly looking at that function 006. 36 is the next slide. If we can move to the next one, that speaks to the work that we're doing in terms of dealing with gender-based violence and femicide. We want to ensure that we implement that plan, which we report on a quarterly basis to the DPME, but also to the presidency. And then, of course, a continuation with that plan in terms of implementation. And then with regards to the next one, it's really setting aside 30% of public bids procurement to women-owned businesses. And we then increase that to 40% in the next financial year, and in the outer year, 40% again. And then below, it's the work that communication will do to enhance our communication through media engagements, outreach engagements, and campaigns. And that target remains at 56, 6, and 12 for the next 3 years. If we can move to slide number 37. So this is just an indication, Chairperson, of the backlog, as you requested, how we've dealt with the backlog. Of critical is to indicate that when we started, we had a backlog population of 306,042, that's 100,000, that's raw data, comprising mainly of online applications, which were in the majority at almost 202,594, and then 102,448. These are manually processed, mainly from the missions. The critical thing that you need to look there, it's the number 306,042, and what has been done to date, 285,346. It means we've been able to really deal with the backlog substantially. I think we're only left with about 20,396, which will translate to probably around 4% of that. So that's how we've managed to deal with the backlog through the support of other provincial colleagues that were thrown in, but also the permitting team led by Mr. Simons. If we can move to slide number 38. So this is just the current population where we are. If you look at that number, 225,964, we've been able to finalize at least 162,998. There are still some that we currently are working on, which are overdue, amounting to 40,000, which we are currently working on. And then we can move to the next slide, 39. You also asked us, Chair, to present to the committee the upcoming legislation. Of course, one of them will be the white paper, amended white paper on citizenship, immigration, and refugee protection. And then during the 2024-25 financial year, there were a number of bills that were dealt with or first finalized by the department, including the marriage bill, which the Portfolio Committee on Home Affairs is currently out. I think that in KZN today, they were in the Northwest soliciting public comments, and then the one-stop border post bill as well. That's with Parliament, and then the national identification is the one that we currently are revising so that we can then submit to Cabinet. And then, of course, the third amendment of the immigration regulations, we have amended this numerous times so that we're able to introduce new visa categories. So we can move to the next slide. Slide number 40. From here onwards, I'll request the CFO, Mr. Gordon Hollambi, to take you through the budget at a high level. Thank you, Chairperson. Through you, I'll then invite him to take you through the budget. Thank you.
Thank you, DG. Permission granted. We can continue.
Chairperson, good morning. My name is Gordon Hollambi. I'll switch on my camera for a second so that you can see me, but I will switch off my video just to save bandwidth. So, Chairperson, thank you very much for this opportunity, and I also wish to... Sorry, Chair?
Yes, we're noting that you want to switch off your camera, but can you just hold your gadget properly so that we see you and then you can switch off?
Chairperson, I'll switch on my camera.
Thank you.
Just give me a second. Thank you, ma'am.
You are in order, then you can switch it off, then continue.
Thank you very, very much, Chairperson. Chairperson, good morning to you, and good morning also to the Minister, the Deputy Minister, the honourable members, and my colleagues in the meeting. Chairperson, you have done part of my presentation already in your opening remarks when you gave an indication as to the MTF allocations. So from my perspective, I'll try and do this at a high level and very fast. So, Chair, if I go too quickly, please stop me. So, Chairperson, this is our allocation letter, the one on the screen. You will notice that our allocation for 25-26 is 10.7 billion rands. There's a baseline increase of 321 million for 25-26. The bulk of that is for BMA, 280 mil, and 41 million to the Department for Compensation of Employees. In the middle here, Chair, and as you already mentioned, there's an allocation of 885 million rands for the local government elections to the IEC. Chairperson, if you then go down on the 25-26 column, the middle column, you will also see that there are earmarked funds. One of the earmarked allocations is for passenger name recognition. The second one is for border management. The third one is for electoral commission. And the fourth one is for political parties funding. So, Chairperson, then we also have specifically and exclusively appropriated funding for, in our IT environment, the 767 million rands for that. Lastly, on this slide, which is important, is the compensation of employees budget, or seeding, which is at 4.232 billion rands. Chairperson, if I can then move that, we move to slide 42, the next slide. On this slide, Chair, all I want to emphasize is that we have 4 programs on the department. The first program is administration, the second one civic services, then immigration, and then the last one is institutional support and transfers. Chairperson, under civic services, we provide the budget for the provinces. I will share that shortly. It's on slide 37. On this slide, what I also would like to highlight is just the compensation of employees under 25-26, the third last column. Is our allocation is in line with our seeds.
Mr. Gordon,
Chairperson.
There's a request that can you please enlarge your slide. However, I just want to remind Honorable, thank you. I thought members were they are using both gadgets to open for slides and while you go into, but thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So also thank you to Muzi and the team for assisting me, Chair. Thank you for that. So, Chairperson, I'm then going to go to slide 44. I'm not going to deal with administration. The detail of that is in the slide. So slide 44 deals with the allocation for civic services. And in there, you'll see that there are sub-programs. The first one is citizen affairs management, then status services, identification services, and the last one is service delivery to provinces. So, Chairperson, in line with our approach to enable our frontline officers to operate effectively, we always give preference in our allocations, in our budget allocations to the provinces. So we try to protect our provinces from all budget cuts as well, to the manner in which it's possible. So, Chairperson, you will see there that for 25-26, the allocation to the provinces is 2.685 billion, sorry, Chair, and then it grows to 2.858 in the middle here and 3 billion in the outer here. So that's the allocation to provinces. Chairperson, I'm then going to ask that we move to the allocations per province. That was a specific request from the committee, and it's slide 47. On slide 47, Chair, you will notice, and this is the current year budget allocation for the provinces. All provinces have been allocated their budgets in February, March already. They are spending according to plan. If you look at the spending as at the end of May, they are standing at 16%, the Free State is at 15.8%, and Northwest at 15.7%, with Northern Cape at 15.5%. So if you do a linear projection for the provinces, you will see that the provinces are not under real pressure, but that's not to say that there are no budget needs emanating from the provinces. My colleagues in the provinces will tell you there's a need for additional capacity, vehicles, funding for fuel, that kind of thing. So there is such needs. Chairperson, the next slide is just the budget outlook. And on this particular slide, I would just like to highlight the funding pressures we currently have. We have a funding pressure on our digitization of records project. We had to prioritize funding from baseline for this particular project. We are hopeful that Treasury will accede to our request for additional funding, and we have received a letter from the Minister of Finance wherein it's indicated that an amount of 480 million rand has been provisionally allocated for this process in the current financial year. Chairperson, then the next one is on buildings and facilities. We also have pressures there. What we did is, in order to fund the digitization of records project, we moved money from buildings and facilities to the digitization project. As matters progress throughout the year, we then, and we generate self-financing. I'll come back to that aspect just now, Chair. We then use this money to pay the buildings and facilities, private leases and state-owned facilities. Legal cost is another expense, Chair, which we're trying to manage. And as DG have already indicated, the steps we have taken in that regard. The last aspect, Chairperson, that's a real big budget pressure is security services, and in particular, physical guarding services. So, Chairperson, that service is quite expensive. We have a large footprint, and we try to maintain at least a semblance of security at all our offices, in order not to only to secure the clients, but also to ensure secure our assets, as well as make sure that our staff are safe. Chairperson, I'm now done with the finances of the budget issues, but the last aspect I would like to raise here, Chairperson, is what we call the issue of self-financing. Chairperson, as you indicated in your opening remarks, the budget allocation for the baseline allocation was just over 11 billion rands for the 25-26 financial year, and it's less than the previous financial year. That difference, Chair, is attributed to self-financing. Self-financing is a mechanism whereby National Treasury allows us to use some of the revenue we collect for operational purposes. So, Chairperson, our target for the current financial year on revenue collection is 1.68 billion rands. Chairperson, we generate this revenue from selling passports and ID documents to our clients. Once we collect this money, we are entitled to use some of it, and this is done through the adjustments estimate process at the end of a financial year. So in the meantime, until that process concluded, we spent basically against an overdraft, and then incur the expenditure from the 1st of April, but only get the money in the last quarter of the financial year, where the things are then balanced off. You will also have noticed, Chair, if you looked at Program 2, the civic services, that there's this overspending on status services. That's the element where we pay GPW for the printing of passports and IDs. Chairperson, if you allow me, I'm now going to move to the other aspects where you requested us to provide information on unauthorized, irregular, and fruitless expenditure, and those kinds of expenditure items. Chairperson, slide 49, we have not incurred any unauthorized expenditure, Chairperson, for at least the last 12, 15 years. So that we have not done. Irregular expenditure, Chair, unfortunately, we do incur irregular expenditure, but the good news for 24-25, and as DG has indicated, Chair, these figures are unaudited. It's being subjected to audit now. We have incurred in the 24-25 financial year irregular expenditure to the value of 225 million rands. Chairperson, that 225 is not new irregular expenditure. As you will see from slide 50, this comes from the past. It's the irregular expenditure relates to the ABIS contract, where EOH Mutombo was appointed through a CETA process, but that process was flawed. There's also irregular expenditure relating to the digitization project, where we didn't go through the CETA processes, but used a deviation, which was then not accepted by the auditors. Chairperson, then again, digitization, where we installed equipment and security features and made renovations to the buildings, which we rent from from post office. Also, that process was then declared irregular because we didn't go through the CIDB processes. So, Chairperson, and then there's also some irregular expenditure to the value of 2.3 million, where we did not go through the CETA processes and used deviations. Those deviations were not agreed to by the AG. There's a little amount, Chairperson, of emergency procurement in Gauteng for 3,000, and another one, a contravention of the public procurement regulations of 16,000 relating to Limpopo. So those are basically the only new irregular expenditure, if I can call them that, Chair. So irregular expenditure not previously identified or confirmed. So, Chairperson, slide 51 deals with the disciplinary steps taken. So in respect of the ABIS project, 6 officials were formally charged. This is from the departmental side, Chair. There were also investigations at the CETA side. On the digitization project, Chair, the formal disciplinary process has commenced. There's no outcome yet. On the procurement of the items with the fiber connectivity, the CBX and Liquid Tech, those deviation requests, Chairperson, we have not taken any disciplinary action in that regard. It's the issue about an interpretation of a CETA deviation process. And then the last one, Chairperson, is on the IT firewalls, where 2 officials were formally charged and 1 official was dismissed, and the other one left before the disciplinary process could be concluded. So, Chairperson, and in respect of the ABIS as well as the IT firewall case matters, criminal cases were opened as well. Chairperson, slide 52 deals with fruitless and wasteful expenditure. Chairperson, you'll notice that our closing balance is, well, we started off with an opening balance of 40,000 rands. Then we added current year fruitless and wasteful of 99,000 rands, Chair. This was a overpayment. This was a payment to a supplier that was not the right supplier. It's a matter that comes from Northern Cape, Chairperson. So we are in the process of recovering that amount from the supplier, which was wrongly paid that amount. But for current purposes, we disclose this as fruitless and wasteful expenditure. If the supplier is unable to repay us, Chairperson, then we'll take disciplinary steps against the officials that authorize these transactions and recover the amounts from them. So those are your options in respect of fruitless and wasteful is rather limited. You either write off or you recover. Our approach has always been to recover. Chairperson, the very last slide I would like to share with you is slide 53. It's on material losses through criminal conduct. So, Chairperson, we have not disclosed any material losses in terms of section 43B1, Roman 1 and Roman 3 of a PFMA in the 24-25 financial statements. However, the AG did issue a material irregularity in the 23-24 financial year on the department's inability to collect fines and penalties issued to conveyors in terms of sections 53 and 54 of the Immigration Act. So, Chairperson, that MI process is not yet concluded. We have submitted the accounting officer's response. The AG has come back with recommendations. We have submitted a response back on the recommendations. And one of the recommendations was that we also had to determine the amount of a possible financial loss. And Chairperson, so that's the last bullet where we said an amount of 133 million was determined to be non-operational, untraceable, and irrecoverable. And it was proposed that 139 million be impaired or derecognized. Chairperson, perhaps let me just explain what we mean with the non-operational, untraceable, irrecoverable amounts. These are fines that were issued to bus operators and taxi operators and private vehicles at ports of entry. If you bring in or if you convey a passenger in a bus or a minibus taxi or in your private vehicle who does not have the required passports or identification documents, and you bring that person through a port of entry, that company or minibus taxi or owner of a vehicle is fined for doing that. It's the same with airlines. If an airline brings in a passenger whose travel documents are not in order, then that company is fined. So, Chairperson, the problem with the land conveyors, the minibuses, the taxis, and the buses is that we have no jurisdiction over those companies, especially those registered in our neighboring countries, and we cannot enforce our fines and penalties. This is also a matter that has been delegated to the Border Management Authority, Chair, so it's their function, and I believe the Border Management Authority is doing much better than we did as a department, Chair. For one thing, the BMA has powers of arrest and can also confiscate vehicles. They have law enforcement powers, which we lacked as a department previously. So, Chairperson, so from our perspective, the material irregularity is a historic issue, and we are responsible for the fines and penalties predating the establishment of the BMA, which became effective on the 1st of April 2023. Chairperson, that's my presentation then. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, CFO. I would
Chair.
now hand over to, thank you.
Yes, Chairperson, thank you. Apologies for that. So we're tabling before the select committee the revised strategic plan for 2025 to 2030 and also the revised APP, including the budget. Thank you, Chairperson, for consideration with your committee.
Thank you, DG. I was going to give you, I'm chairing the meeting, so I was taking over from Mr. Gordon to yourself, then to the members. However, thank you. And I must say, if it was by myself, in terms of the decision of this select committee, I was going to say that I want to check the hands for a mover and the seconder for this particular budget. However, one is very impressed about the multi-sectoral approach that has been presented to us through the APP. And as well, we have noted on our side many issues that perhaps members would want clarity on with regards to the budget. And I must say, indeed, today's APP is a good story to tell with regards to things that we would want to see happening in the department, more especially on issues of consequence management. I now want to know hands from members Each member would have 5 minutes in terms of interrogating the presentation. What I like about the team here, they don't just ask, but give as well recommendation on what needs to be done properly, or alternatively by the department with regards to responding to other issues. After members, I would then ask what I have noted and one would want to suggest with regards to things that one believes that if can be dealt with on issues of irregular expenditures, would be in a good footing as the department. Members, I'm noting hands for clarity-seeking questions with regards to presentation that we got. And if members feel that they are covered, we might as well adopt this particular budget vote. Members, I'm checking on your hands, and I haven't seen any. And I've given you 5 minutes. Okay. So
Chair.
there's no head.
Sorry, Chair. My gadget does not
There's
raise.
our hands there.
Our hands are up, Chair.
I could see them from us, but mine cannot take it. But I don't know what's wrong with my computer.
Okay, let me relax and then say call for hands for clarity-seeking questions and comments. I can see now there's Honorable Offense, Honorable Noe, and Honorable Gerik, and Honorable No. Honorable, okay, let me wait and then for members to raise their hands. Anyone who has issues with regard to raising their hand, can they indicate so that I don't leave them behind? Okay.
Myself, Chairperson Machobe.
All right. Okay. All right, members. It will be Honorable Mokae, Honorable Noe, Honorable Gerik, Honorable Pili, Honorable Pala, Honorable Njobeni, then Honorable Advocate Nkonyan. Over to you, Honorable Mokae.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Good morning to all the honorable members. Chair, I will just put my video on so that you can see. Then I will just also take it off the bandwidth. Where I am, I'm struggling with it. If you allow, Chair.
Permitted.
Thank you very much. Chair, firstly, I would just like to welcome the presentation by the team, Home Affairs, led by the Minister, the Deputy Minister, the DG, and the CFO.
Your video is still on, and we don't want to lose you. You requested to switch it off, so I don't want to lose you.
Okay, Chair.
All right.
All right. No, thank you very much, Chairperson, for that. And obviously, as you know, that this committee, we like to have a provincial a Zoom as we hold the interest of our provinces. And I noted the vacancies in the Northern Cape, and maybe just to get the reflection in terms of in which areas those vacancies. I think there's a 26%. 26 vacant funded post. I would just like to get clarity on that. But Chair, as you know, it's a really a welcome note in terms of the digitization of Home Affairs and the new Home Affairs, the new culture that you are seeing in the department. And I think it will really take Home Affairs forward to transform its service offering to South Africans. We note that there's been a long issue with SITA, the State Information Technology Agency. And I think in May, the Minister of Communications did gazette those regulations that will allow departments to leverage and go beyond what SITA is offering, go into the market to try and source IT services on their own. And I think Home Affairs is central at that because of the new culture that is coming there. And my question to the department, how are we leveraging with those new regulations? How is this department taking opportunity of those regulations that are gazetted, seeing that there is a renewed energy in the department to digitalize its offering and also to make things simpler we are living in AI, we are living in new technology, and it has caught up with us. And it's for us to rise up to that opportunity, Chairperson. Now we are meeting the department online on the virtual platform and doing our work. It tells you about the culture and the new system that we have in the country. And mine would just like to get from the department, how are they leveraging on those regulations from CETA? Thank you very much, Chair. That will be mine from my side.
Thank you for being precise as well. Honorable Noe.
Morning, Chair. How are you? Thank you very much, and the colleagues. The Minister, thank you, and all your entourage. Chair, I've got a few questions here. First one, it is on the backlog on visa issue. I was scared with those thousands. However, you could see that there is really a progress. But my question is whether, while these visas are so delayed in their different categories, is there a constant feedback to the applicants so that they can then be aware how their application has been delayed? And also, what is the department able to detect perhaps the delay, how it implicates to the applicant, and whether such a delay will not also land a department into some form of litigations? And the second one, Chair, as we do our work in the provinces, oversight work, we engage with communities, you find that there are areas where there is complaint that either offices were closed or the department is not constant with mobile services. In this case, I'm referring to Sasolburg. I got that complaint over the past weekend, how the department intervenes in the areas, outlying areas where there is no mayor office of the department to make sure that services are provided in such areas. Because I still have got to go back to the speaker and see how we can assist in that regard. And then the issue of the spaza shop, Chair, which we know that it has become a problem in the country. I just want to check, one, whether the department has got any working relations with municipalities regarding the latest measure of or control that the country is trying to bring around the spaza shops in terms of issuing of licenses, and whether also is there a threshold as to how many spaza shops can we have in particular areas vis-a-vis the immigrants or immigrants and the locals. You know, is there some kind of a threshold that ensures that whatever Home Affairs is doing in their space doesn't go beyond whatever regulations or laws that will have been set aside, that we cannot have so much beyond as far as the locals and the outside people? And then the last one, Chair, under the citizen affairs, I just wanted to check with the BMA and regarding BMA whether there was a disturbing video or clip that I have here on me. I haven't distributed it, where a foreigner alleging to be a Zimbabwean saying they are coming there in our borders directly and bribe our officials with 500 rands and then get entry, and then they are coming to eliminate us through whatever form. It's a very scary kind of a clip. Now, I just want to check whether while we are improving control at the border areas, do you also perhaps consider or using, as we have seen in the traffic areas, to try to minimize corruption by our officials, feed them with cameras, like as and when they help people, there is a way of recording the conversation, which can later on be tracked. That's my contribution, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and for keeping on your 5 minutes time. Honorable Gerrie.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, colleagues, and also to the officials of Home Affairs. Chairperson, I have seen a very concerning piece in the presentation, and that pertains to the cost of employees. Now, if my calculation is right, it borders on almost 50% of the budget, and if that's the case, it is indeed disproportionately high. I want to ask the department, the DG in particular, if you are going to digitize full scale, well, you still need such a lot of people, manpower, or how are you going about it, particularly when people, those that near retirement age, to get them, for instance, out of the system. It sounds nasty the way I put it, but to minimize the cost of employees, we've got to consider some effective alternatives in order to save on those costs. That's the one issue. I have some questions with regard to the Border Management Authority, but you have said that we will deal with them separately. But I also want to know, the last time we spoke to the department, we have spoken about people that are in far rural areas that are not registered with IDs and with birth certificates and documents and so on. And I did not hear anything in this presentation about reaching out to those type of communities. I believe there are thousands of people that are not documented, and they are South Africans. So what initiatives do you have in place as the department to reach out to those communities? Remember the last time we were told that the mobile units, there's a shortage of mobile units. Are you now in a position to roll out full scale to those communities? Or what is your medium, even to long-term plan to roll out the services to those communities? I also want to understand, Chairperson, sometimes you get to offices of Home Affairs and those offices are so overcrowded because of the very important service that Home Affairs renders to the South African community. Do you have any plans in expanding your buildings, for instance, or upgrading your logistics in those buildings so that people may be helped and be helped on time? Sometimes people come from far areas and they have to turn back again without being helped on the same day, and they got to come back and back and back again so that they be helped. So that is a gross point of concern. And instead of concentrating all those services in one place in a central town, for instance, where I sit now in George, everybody must go to town to be helped at that one office. Do we have plans to roll out, even in a specific town, to roll out, as you can call it, per region? You can have Thembalethu, you can have Packersdorp, you can have the central city, and you can roll out some type of mobile service to those communities that need the services of Home Affairs. Do you have any plans of breaking up that service and roll it out to the communities over and above the once a year initiative that the department has, where they bring a truck, for instance, in, but on a consistent basis, where people can be reached and where people can be assisted. Lastly, I want to understand also or ask, in terms of the irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure, Chairperson, over and above the what we've seen, the disciplinary charges and so on, can we understand the level of those employees that have been charged? Because obviously, if something goes wrong on a junior level, then some senior people must also take responsibility for that. So which level of employees are we talking about that were charged, and even those that resigned, which level were they, and did we take action against people higher up, managers, for not implementing consequence management, for instance? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Kherik, and you were just about to go for an injury time. And I really appreciate your consistency on issues of undocumented South Africans. It's a serious, grave concern. Honorable Billy.
Good morning to you, Chairperson, and good morning to the Minister and the representatives from the Department of Home Affairs. With your permission, Chairperson, I've switched on my video. I'm sure you can see my handsome face, if you allow, so if I can close it.
And I kick Billy. You are noted. You can close.
Thank you.
What is handsome there?
Can we see,
Honorable Noah, order.
Can we see the member's face, please, Chairperson? Let him keep his video on, please. His hands.
Honorable Kherik, order. Honorable Billy, you can continue.
No, thank you, Chair. I think maybe let me join my colleagues first in welcoming the presentation by the department and the Minister. And I think Honorable Kherik speaks of the long lines that we see at Home Affairs. But I think we can, we can at least appreciate that the presentation speaks directly to some of those issues. As I'm sitting here, I lost my ID, and I do not have the time to go to Home Affairs. And I think these are some of the issues that the presentation seems to want to deal with. And I think there's already work being done to address some of these issues, whereby, you don't have to be going to Home Affairs, to reapply for an ID that already exists. And I think the Minister has spoken quite a lot about that. And the Deliver Home Affairs at Home seeks to deal with exactly those kind of issues, where you go to Home Affairs when you are born, and deal with Home Affairs when you die, or when someone dies. In between, there shouldn't be a need to constantly having to go back and forth into the offices. But I think what is clear in this presentation, Chair, is that there's a very clear understanding that the digital transformation it's no longer an option. It's a very important component for our development, but more importantly for growth. And I think we must at least appreciate that part. If you look at what has been spoken about at length, which is the introduction of digital ID system, there is a reform that will not only combat identity fraud, but will also improve, other services, your financial services and so on. The electronic travel authorization system, which is built on artificial intelligence. And that, Chairperson, I think it also speaks to, a step in boosting our tourism sector, which is an incredibly important part of our economy, especially when we talk about critical skills being introduced into the country, but more importantly, eliminating the bureaucratic inefficiencies that we have seen for the longest time in the department. So, Chairperson, I think the presentation also spoke about the rolling out of smart ID cards and the commitment to discontinue the outdated green barcode IDs. I think that also, Chair, we must welcome because there's a clear plan, there's a clear commitment being conveyed by this presentation. Second to last, Chair, what I just want to quickly touch on. It's clear that the department has got the strategic and budget plans which require a lot of support for it to become really a success. I mean, you look at the BMA, which Honorable Pala spoke about, which has been underfunded for the longest time, perhaps because it was not fully operational. But we can see that, with an increased funding, and perhaps the minister or the department can, just give us an assurance on the plans for the BMA in the near future and its ability and capacity to be able to carry out its mandate, since it is now at a stage where it is fully operational. We saw drones being launched recently. I think it's an incredibly important part of what we need to deal with as a department, but more importantly as a country. Honorable Pala spoke about the borders. I mean, we went to Beitbridge last year as a committee, and what we saw there is certainly not what we want to see for our country, where people are coming in and out as they wish. But I think perhaps with the proper capacitation and funding of the BMA and increased budgetary support, we will begin to see a BMA that is able to do its job to protect our borders and ensure that we've got legal people coming into the country. Maybe for me, Chairperson, that is maybe a point of something to respond to. Just an assurance on, and just lastly on the issue of CETA, because all of this requires a system. It requires infrastructure. Maybe the department, if they can just give the committee, because I think in the past, Chairperson, we've spoken about CETA and how it is obstructive in terms of ensuring that departments, not just Home Affairs, are able to fully digitize. And maybe if the department can just give the committee an assurance of where exactly they are in terms of finding a way to work around the inefficiencies of CETA and how all of these plans will be incorporated to make sure that they become a success. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Pili, and we have noted most of your inputs in terms of emphasizing how important is digitalization and modernization in our lifetime. And now go to Honorable Pala, and then Honorable Kotel, I've noted your hand. Honorable Pala.
Thank you, Chair. Let me as well request to stop my video there. With your permission, Chair.
It's granted.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Good morning, Minister, and good morning, honorable members. Good morning, DG and the DDGs on the platform and all the officials on the platform. Chair, it is always so much pleasing when you listen to officials who speaks with authority on the department's strategic plan and the APP. We really appreciate it, and this is the indication that the officials are in charge of what they are doing, and this is a continuation of what has been done by the previous administration. And we really appreciate the minister that he's stepping up on what was built before. This is good, and this is promising that the department will be able to deal with some of the challenges which our communities are facing. My first question which I want to ask the department is what I've indicated, I've written as citizenry details per square kilometer. I've been trying to try to get to these details in the presentation. I know it has been touched there and there, but I would want to know how does the department deal with citizens in every square kilometer of the country? Do minister have a system which can when you click on the system, it can tells you on this particular square kilometer there are these people. I hope my question is properly framed, Minister. The second question is on slide 13, Chair. On slide 13, on the issue of mandate, where the department speaks about the mandate. The first mandate there, which they say management of citizenship and civil registration. I need some clarity and elaboration. I'm sorry about that. I need some. I'm just going to put this. I forgot to put this one there. I need some clarity on the management of citizenship, Chair. And my other point, following point, a matter of concern is, Minister, I was recently I had a meeting with a community in my constituency, in Limpopo, at the town of Marble Hall. There's an extension of an old location, which is called Elanskral. The communities there were complaining about the issues of stands. What is surprising is that Eskom has connected them with electricity, but they do not have some stands. I do not know whether this is the mandate of the Home Affairs or COGTA or Department of Housing. But Minister, I would want to know how does the department account to people who do not have a stance in the properties which have been allocated to them? My other point which I want to refer here, which I want to ask here, is on slide 42, which Mr. Gordon presented here. Chair, with your permission.
As you conclude.
Yeah, no. Okay. Yeah, no. In fact, I need on that slide 32, I need more clarity as well on the citizen affairs management. If I can be given a more, if they can elaborate more about that. My last point, Chair, is how does the department deal with squatter settlements around the borders, particularly in Beitbridge and the Bombo, where squatters are developing jump some meters away from the borders. Those are my question, Chair. Thank you very much.
Okay, ke a leboga, Honorable Phala. Honorable Machobeni.
Thank you, Chair. Good day, Chair. Good day to the Minister, Deputy Minister. Good day to the honorable members and the staff. Chair, let me first appreciate the presentation. I won't repeat what my colleagues were saying concerning the issue of
Digitalization.
Where is
Nantoke.
and the issue of borders. Chairperson, it's a big challenge, the issue of those who living in rural areas to be reachable. As my colleague Eric has said, for example, our colleague facing challenges where are coming from in the Eastern Cape. There's a long issue concerning the issue of office in Aidutwa and Ambashe municipality. People are struggling there. They are seated outside because they are using mobile trucks. Please, can you intervene to speed up this process of the office? Even the mobile trucks, you will find out it is not there sometimes because they will say it's broken. So we have serious challenges. That's just imagine people from far to town spend 100 rand return to their places and town to arrive at town. There's no truck. By saying that, please see to it the issue of office in Aidutwa is a serious matter. And as the DG said, Chairperson, there will be a discontinuation of green barcoded IDs. I just want to set my scenario concerning me. I've done the smart card. While I was waiting for the smart card, I was using my green ID. When the smart card arrives, I use it. When I use it, the bank said to me it's a fraud. I ask why they are saying that it's a fraud.
Honorable Machobeni, are you done?
No, sorry. It's a issue of network.
All right.
I'm still saying then they said when I'm using this card, this smart card, they said to me it's fraud. I was asking, why are you saying it's a fraud? They said there's no signature to my smart card. Even myself, I didn't notice there was no signature. When I checked that place of e-signature, there's a small tick as if it's a full stop. So in other banks, while I was using this smart card, I've been blocked as a fraudster. Last month, I've done another smart card. I'm still waiting for it. I'm just asking, when I receive this new smart card, what will be the intervention to those banks who blocked me concerning this challenge? Because when I've noticed that there's this challenge on my smart card, even myself, I didn't see it. It was seen by the bank. I called them at Woodvale where I was doing this smart card. But guys, I'm having this challenge. And even themselves, they take these things lightly. They said, no, you will do another card. So I'm saying, why? Because I did pay 160. So why I'm going to pay another money, whereas the challenge is in your side? Because I've signed it. So they didn't explain to me if there's these challenges that I'm facing. Now I've been blocked by the banks. I'm raising this issue, Chair, to Home Affairs staff to assist me. If I receive this smart card, what will be the interventions? Maybe when I've given them this second smart card, there will some issues. I'm just raising this concern, Chairperson. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mutobeni, and I think your case will actually assist us to get sense of more perhaps that are happening like yourself. I'm interested to listen to the response by the department. Honorable Gotzel, and then after Honorable Midupi.
Thank you, Chair, and almost good afternoon to the Minister and the departmental officials. Chair, I just have one question about the department's soon to be allocated 885 million rand, which is going to the Electoral Commission. And I was wondering if we could perhaps get some information on the conditions that will be attached to this allocation to the Commission, and perhaps whether we will get a briefing at some stage about how the Commission is preparing for the local government elections next year.
Thank you, Honorable Gotzel. What a profound question, so that we don't get at some point issues of deviation, irregular and stuff. Honorable Midupi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chairperson, my question to the department is we have noticed that the department has been struggling with payment within 30 days. And maybe if the department can share with us as to what does
Can we see you, Honorable Member?
Forward.
Honorable Midupi.
Honorable Chair?
Can we see you? Because I haven't heard you speaking about any difficulties of your bandwidth. And yeah. No, thank you. You are in order.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, my question to the department is that from the observation that we have made, even in the previous financial year, department has been struggling to pay the service providers within 30 days. And now the challenge is, are there any plans in place to cap that moving forward, or what is their plan with this new budget that they are placing before us? Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Midupi, for being precise as well. Honorable Nonkonyane.
Chair and honorable members, distinguished guests, honorable the Minister.
Honorable Nonkonyane, you
Yeah.
can just adjust your camera. I see now you have a virtual background. You are in order. Yeah, just adjust then.
Okay.
I want to talk with you. Do you want to switch off for now, or you can continue? Because of a problem, flats in the
Yeah, I'll take a chance.
Don't take a chance. We don't want
of case that Honorable Billy knows. Well, I was saying good morning to you, Honorable Minister, Honorable DM, DG, and your team in the collective team, Home Affairs. And thank you so much for the presentation. And I think I'm very happy, Honorable Minister, for having apologized for the late delivery. I hope there will be consequence for those that you suggest embarrassed you. But the point I wanted to make is that the NCOP, as well as the National Assembly, they are two legs of one body. And we see how we are treated. Let me just emphasize that and leave it there, that we would love, as NCOP, to be treated in the same way as the NA. That was my remark. Secondly, the expression lovely is rhyming correctly. The home affairs at home. I want to start there. First of all, I am in Flagstaff. I had to travel from my royal household and travel some distance, bad roads, as you may know, potholes, as you may know. But because I needed to be part of this meeting, I had to go to my constituency office in town in Flagstaff. That's where I am. Yesterday, I did go past that office of Home Affairs. The network was down. I've just sent the administrator now, when I was starting this meeting, to check and update. It is still down. And when I passed there, the people I could see in their faces the agony, anxiety, and frustration. We have been told by this department even last year the same thing. Clearly on the ground, this has not yielded fruit. You can call Flagstaff town now immediately with the DG after I've spoken to verify. And the second point on the same issue, I've been to late Madikizela Mandela's home in Mbongweni, almost about 80 kilometers away from Bizana, for instance. There was no network. Struggled to communicate with anybody. Now, I want just to the question is therefore on this. Can you just tell us this Home Affairs at Home pilot? Where did you pilot it? I would love to go, and even at my own expense in rural areas. If you can just go there, just tell us where. If there's one or two, we'll appreciate. That's one. Two, on the issue of budget, I noticed then that there is a report that the AG, Auditor General, did actually have some adverse remark about that. And secondly, on the same issue, I've noticed in the report that there's been some targets that could not be met last time. And some explanation has been given, for instance, that network was down. Secondly, electricity on and off, that type of thing. Question there is that, knowing that experience, do you have a plan to address that as we are presenting now the annual performance plan for the future? Because I'm not going to cry over spilled milk at all, but it is that is done and dusted. But I'm concerned, do you have any plans in place to address this concern? And also, of course, the concern raised by the Auditor General. Thirdly, you also indicated that there is some official from the department. Of course, we know that the corruption and corrupt element within the department, unfortunately, few as they may be, they taint the image of this department of ours. But you indicated that some jumped ship as they were going to be disciplined. But my question there is, what do you do in respect of those people? Because they may jump, having caused some much damage. They may have some pensions, for instance. And I would love you appreciate a bit there, but not much. But again, what are you going to do to address that mischief in future in your plans around that? Then I think No, I think that is all. Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you very much, colleagues. I will not add anything from the question from colleagues that have expressed. I hope I was clear, and I will wait for the response. Thank you so much.
You're very clear, Bala. Thank you for your questions, and I think one could agree with Honorable Nonkonyan. The issue of downtime, Minister and Deputy Minister, it's one of the matters that are always been taken for this as study cases for those who are doing public management. There's no way that you can do public management and then the issue of Home Affairs, it doesn't come out as one of the challenges that you are having. And I think it needs some serious attention. And I am glad that members here are coming with realities in terms of where they are located and where they are staying and experiencing these issues as communities. I hope that Minister and your collective, you have noted the question by Honorable Nowe with regards to issues that are happening at Qwaqwa. And on issue of Honorable Nowe, Honorable Minister, I would want your office to locate an individual that would consistently work with him, because it doesn't pass a week or a day without him raising issues that relate to Home Affairs, horrific experience by our people. So I want to just ask yourselves to locate an individual that would speak with Honorable Nowe after this meeting, so that you can work on something relating to issues that are experienced by people at that space. On my side, I had 3 questions, and some is just clarity. Number 1, let me start on the issue of deviation not accepted by the AG. I want to check with the CFO. Does the department has any mitigations plans with regards to this issue, so that we don't normalize the abnormality that we deviate, and yet we've been receiving the feedback from the AG that this is non-compliant and this reflects bad in terms of your books. Do you have any plan with regards to that? Noting that the department is very clear about the risk approach as their business model to ensure that they mitigate as it when they have to. I think on the issue of consequence management, let's get specifics and as well their levels in terms of authority or positions, because from my side, my experience is different than what Honorable Gerrick spoke of. At times on my side, I see junior level staff being the ones who are found guilty, yet the others won't be seen or being part of those consequence management. So it will be important that we get details on that. I want to appreciate as well the inclusion of gender-based violence and femicide. And I would want to have a written submission with regards to actually what are the programs that Home Affairs is going to do. And if needs be, go at length on issues of location or where you have identified that you would be executing those programs. I would like to see the picture and the feel of you responding to GBVF as Home Affairs. The other question is that I want to know, do you have a strategy in place to assist elderly persons with regards to everything that you are doing now on issues of digitalization and other services that are actually designated for elderly persons, noting that we have these issues of downtimes where you get these elders being there and going back in and out without getting help, and others resolve to not even having this particular ID. So I want to get to know if you have a plan. The other one is with regards to your inspections, or I've noted the areas that you have identified as key areas to do those particular inspections. But I want to remind the department that we last requested that the department must include the big construction places as one of the area that the department must go and do inspections. Because we know in these big industrial constructions of infrastructure, you get our people not being employed, but foreigners being more employed and used for those particular services. So I think that it's an omission, and I want to say to the department, please include that part of big construction services for you to go and inspect. And lastly, I've noted that on Gauteng, there's a funded vacant post, and I want to know what is it that has been done and how many of these posts directly impact service delivery in our province. That's it from my side. Would now hand over to the department for responses.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you, honorable members, for the questions. Am I allowed to proceed with the responses, Chair?
You are allowed, DG.
All right. So CFO will deal with the issues that you have just raised around the deviations, and then Mr. Mavuso will deal with questions that were raised by Honorable Advocate Nkosi Nonkonyane, and then Mr. Simons will then address some of the issues that were raised by Honorable Nue with regards to visa backlogs and how we communicate the delays to them. And I think the Sasolback question, Honorable Nue, that you've asked, Mr. Mavuso will deal with that. And then Simons will also deal with the ones on sponsorships. Can I start by indicating, Chair, that we appreciate the questions and the comments that have been made, because I think they also assist us to enhance our operations. Now, with regards to questions that Honorable Gerike raised around the introduction of digital transformation and the work that we need to do with regards to skilling our own officials. Honorable Gerike, we have just signed an agreement with the University of Pretoria and the PCTA, which is funding this, to ensure that we reskill and upskill our officials in the other areas of work as well. I think Honorable Mzamo put it quite Billy put it quite clearly that we have to embrace technology. Other nations are moving quite ahead, and if we don't do that, we will remain quite behind. And then, Honorable Gerike, you also asked a question in terms of our footprint in the Western Cape, where you are. We do have a very strong program that goes to not only schools, but all those rural areas, starting in the West Coast, in the Winelands, Swellendam, Hermanas, Mossel Bay, and then, of course, in George as well. The team in the Western Cape has 20 mobile trucks, so they're able to go to those far-flung areas up to Riversdale, Oudtshoorn, and they've just completed a roadshow where they've been to all those areas that have been referred, including the majority of them in the Garden route. And of course, it's not conclusive, because they will then go back to some of those areas to bring back the enabling documents that would have been applied. So we can share with you the program that we have for those areas. And of course, one of the things that we have said in the presentation is that we'll be working with the banks just to ensure that we expand our footprint as well in those areas. In your own province as well, Honorable Gerike, we've just opened 2 new offices, one in Tiger Valley and another one in Mitchell's Plain, just to make sure that we're able to cover those areas. And then there were questions that Honorable Billy asked with regards to long queues. And I think when you do have some time, Honorable Billy, you can get into our pavilion office and apply for that lost ID before someone utilizes it for other purposes. But I think mainly your comments were really encouraging us on this digital transformation path, and the fact that we currently do not have an option. So I think the Minister will respond to issues related to the BMA But just to indicate that we are about to finalize the procurement for the redevelopment of the 6 busiest posts, which includes quite a lot of them with regards to development and ensuring that they currently work. And then with regards to SETA, Chair, I suppose we currently are, as other departments are looking at opportunities created by these gazetted SETA regulations. Of course, we do know that there are transversal systems that we can't opt out of SETA, such as your PESAL, your BUS, and VBN. So we currently are looking at these. Honorable Chair, you asked a question around consequence management. It applies to all levels, SMS members, middle management, and of course, in some cases, those that are to a lower level. And we're happy to provide the details with regards to that. I think Honorable Pala did ask a question with regards to the stance. That does not fall within our mandate. I think that will be human settlement. And then I think the BMA at an opportune time will come and indicate to you what is it that they're doing to deal with the squatter settlements around Libombo and Byte Bridge, which will then assist in responding to that question. I think Honorable Noe, issues related to spaza shops, Mr. Simons, who's joined us, will respond to that. Safe to say that we do have an MOU with COCTA, where we also made inputs to the gazetted regulations on dealing with issues related to spaza shops. And then Honorable Mugai, I think you asked a question related to the vacancy rate. We currently are quite low, and that's a question that Honorable Ferike also raised. We're quite low in terms of the staff complement. We're currently sitting at around 39 to 40%, which means that out of a staff complement of funded vacancies of 7,300, we have a vacancy rate of about 1.6%. We have recently advertised for 150 positions, but as you know, as we digitize more services, we might not even need some of the staff going forward. And then the COE percentage, I think we've indicated that it's 38%. Then there were issues that were raised by Honorable Machobeni. I think I would really appreciate, Chairperson, if we can get details with regards to what Honorable Machobeni has indicated with regards to a blocked ID and the smart cards that she has received, so that we can immediately provide assistance. Honorable Kotsel, the 885 million is an IEC allocation for them to prepare for local government elections. I suppose that's to procure materials and other related activities. For sure, they will come and brief the committee at an opportune time. We don't have a mandate to speak on their behalf. Honorable Midupi, I think from Northwest, I think CFO will respond to your question around the payment within 30 days, but from our records, it was around less than 2%, mainly due to incorrect details of invoices and so on and so forth. But we do have a plan that the CFO will speak to when he takes the platform. And then safe to say that some of the investigations, Chair, that were unable to conclude, which were raised by Advocate Nkosi Nonkonyane, where people leave the department before their cases are finalized. You will recall, Chair, that the President signed a Proclamation 154, which is currently assisting the SIU with investigations at Home Affairs. So you might not be penalized while you're still in the employ, but we do take measures through or referral to the SIU for those other activities. And then I think, Chairperson, you did ask for written submission. DDG for HR, who's just joined us, Mr. Neil Johnson, is a new employee. She'll be able to provide you with details with regards to that. And then I suppose Mr. Mavulu will also deal with the strategy in terms of how do we assist elderly persons. And then on the enforcement, Mr. Simons will also deal with that. So the vacancy rate, Chairperson, for Gauteng, which you have highlighted, it's a symptom of the challenges that we have in terms of capacity. But we're confident that once we start digitizing some of those services, we might not necessarily require a huge capacity, as we have seen with the introduction of the TITOS and also the TES, that we actually don't require a big population to deal with that. So maybe through you, Chairperson, I can then hand over firstly to CFO, and then Mr. Simons, and then Mr. Mavuso to deal with the questions that are related to the areas of work. Thank you, Chairperson.
Yes, thank you, DG. But as well, they need to take cognizance of the time, because we have a meeting that we need to join as these members, that it's usually after this session.
Chairperson, may I then proceed?
Yes, you can, please.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chairperson, I'm going to start with a question of Honourable Member Parla about what does citizen affairs mean on slide 42. I'm also going to refer to slide 44, Chair, which gives a breakdown of what citizen affairs, the program itself, entails. Chairperson, the program Citizen Affairs includes citizen affairs management. That's basically the office of the DDG. Then there's another sub-program called Status Services, which issues IDs and passports, and that's where we put the money or the budget for payments to GPW for the printing of passports and IDs. Then there's another section, sub-program called Identification Services, which deals with the determination of identity, and Chairperson. And then the last one is service delivery to provinces, which I've spoken about and where I've provided the breakdown per province already. Chairperson, citizen affairs, in essence, is taking a South African citizen from the cradle to the grave. So it's birth registration, it's marriage, it's amendments, and it's then death at the end. So, Chairperson, that's what citizen affairs means. I trust the honourable member would be satisfied with that response. Chairperson, the question by Honourable Gottschall on any conditions attached to the IEC money for the local elections for next year, the 885 million. From a departmental perspective, Chair, these are transfer payments. It's earmarked funds. So from a department perspective, we simply transfer this money to the IEC. The IEC is then obliged to use this money for the local government elections, but they have their own rules and prescripts as to how and what that money should be used for. So, the IEC is a constitutional institution with its own accounting officer and own CFO and its own records, Chair. So that's on the IEC money. So the only conditions from our side is just to transfer the money. Chairperson, then DG did mention the question from Honourable Mudupi on 30-day payments. Chairperson, we have not really struggled with payment of invoices within 30 days in the past. For the 24-25 financial year, we paid 97.92% of all invoices within 30 days. There were 338 invoices not paid within 30 days, which is less than 2%, as DG has indicated. Chairperson, but we are working on a process to automate and digitize that payment process so that we have a central point for the collection of all invoices or the submission of all invoices, a system that then track where this invoice is in the system until it's finally paid. So we have actually. As I say, I don't really think we have struggled to pay invoices in the past. Chairperson, in respect of your question about the deviations not being accepted by the AG, Chairperson, any adverse finding by the AG should and in our case did result in a change in behavior. And from our perspective, we became very risk adverse to deviations. So while we would have easily considered a deviation in the past, we are now very, very reluctant to follow that route, Chair, and prefer to follow the prescribed process because the decision as to whether a particular deviation is warranted is not really within your hands as accounting officer. The AG could come back and say to you, we do not agree that your reasons were rational and that there were no other options to follow in this particular case. That makes you risk adverse, and then you follow processes, Chair. And as a consequence, Chair, and as DG has indicated, we are very encouraged by the new changes to the CETA regulations that allows us to follow an alternative process if CETA is unable to provide such service within a 10-day period, or if they are supposed to indicate within 10 days whether they can provide that service. So, Chair, I believe the new CETA regulations will assist us, and it will enable us to move forward faster on the digitization roadmap. Chairperson, I thank you.
Thank you. DG? Okay, over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, Chairperson, and good afternoon, members. My name is Yusuf Simons, the acting DDG for Immigration, as DG indicated. I will just respond to some of the questions. And Chair, with your permission, can I switch off my video camera, please?
Permitted.
Thank you very much, Chair. Honorable members, Honorable Nue, your question on the backlog. Chairperson, it's important to note and emphasize that we started with a backlog of 306,041 applications, so more than 300 applications. Currently, we are sitting with a backlog of about 3%. That's what's remaining, Chair. And the area of the backlog now is in appeals. It's 5,026, and in permanent residency, it's 483. So that's a small portion, Chair. Important to mention that for temporary residents, there are no more backlogs. All those applications have been finalized, and that was the majority of the backlog also. So in terms of the question also then from Honorable Nue, how did we communicate on the backlog? Now, Chair, I'm sure Chair and the members would have seen in the media so many announcements on how we are progressing with the backlog. The media updates constantly on the backlog. Also, Chair, we have a contact center where the applicants would call and ask for progress of their applications. Applicants would send us emails, we'll respond to those. Of course, applicants also use immigration agents or practitioners, and they would also inquire, and we keep into contact with them on the status of applications. But also, Chair and members, there's our partner Visa Facilitation Center called VFS Global, where applicants apply for these visa applications. So they go to these centers also to inquire on the status of their applications. So throughout the backlog, almost monthly, we would communicate through the media and other forms, Chair, on how we are progressing with the backlog that we finalized in that regard. I must also say in the follow-up question from Honorable Nue on how does it impact on the clients. Now, Chair, when we also issued a concession last year, 2 concessions, to indicate that if your application is part of a backlog and you have proof of the application or you have the receipt, that legalizes you in the country and it allows you also to travel. So we gave them that opportunity, Chair, that relief for them to continue with their lives while we then dealt with the backlog. So that was work in progress. The remaining of the backlog, we are committed to finalize that by the end of September, as we have committed to the Minister as well, and we're well on track in that regard. Also, in terms of litigation, Honorable Nue, we did find a reduction in the litigation. But of course, litigation you cannot fully stop because it's also an area that attorneys use to get some funding and take department to court and to make sure that the applications are finalized. But we deal with litigation cases on a daily basis almost. We prioritize those cases and we finalize those cases as well. Part of the current work that we have received, and because we have finalized the backlog of 300,000, we received a number of appeal applications. So that has created now for us a turnaround challenge in terms of the appeals applications that's increased to close to 20,000 of those applications is current work that we are sitting with. But that's the consequence of the work that we did with the backlog, and that's what we're currently dealing with. So those persons, again, they are covered and protected by the receipt of the application, proof of the application that they have submitted, while we are then dealing with their application. Then if I can get to Chair, in terms of spaza shops, DJ has touched on that. It's the COPTA MOU and our work in the security cluster with the police, municipalities, etc., on dealing with the spaza shops. And Chair and members would know that when there was the outbreak of the foodborne diseases last year, there was a huge project from all stakeholder security departments to deal and do inspections at spaza shops. And that was from about the beginning of November till the end of January, where we had concerted effort at spaza shops. I must also mention that, honorable members, as you would know, that the licenses to trade as a spaza shop is issued by municipalities, not Home Affairs. But our role is to ensure that the shop owner, the spaza shop owner, and whoever works at the spaza shop complies with the immigration laws of the country. So we do compliance checks. I can then indicate, Chair, just as an outcome of the project we had with spaza shops last year, we had 396 arrests of foreigners and 98 employers were also charged. So, Chair, when we get to spaza shops, we not only deal with those who work in a spaza shop, but we also deal with those who are employing those who work there, the owners of these spaza shops, and we report that to the municipalities so that they can cancel their licenses. Chair. In terms of, Chair, your question on construction, Chair and members would recall in George last year, on the 6th of May 2024, there was a collapse of a building in George while it's being constructed. And it's to your point, Chairperson, there were 62 workers on that site, that construction site in George. 45 of them were foreigners. And let me say also undocumented foreigners. That is 72% that we found there. And of the 34 persons that passed on in that construction site, 21 of them were foreigners, undocumented as well, Chair. So we have, Chair, as the Chair indicated, we do have concerted projects and operations at construction sites because, as Chair has indicated, we are also aware that at construction sites, that's where foreigners are employed, and that's one of our key areas, together with spaza shops and mining areas, that we really focus on our operations. Let me conclude there. Thank you very much, Chairperson and members.
Thank you, Mr. Simons. I want to check DG if there's anyone left to respond on something before I hand over to the Deputy Minister and the Minister.
Yes, Chairperson and honorable members, Mr. Mavuso was next, is the last one.
Yes, please. I actually, I was looking at you to just conduct your team to say next and this one. Over to you, Mr. Mavuso.
No, thank you, Chair. I will also switch off my video. Chair, I'm going to be very brief.
Don't switch, Honorable Mavuso. Mr. Mavuso.
Yes, Chair.
You must request for permission per terminal. And then I would say yes, permitted.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Ground rules observed.
Yes. Yeah. You can switch off and continue.
No, thanks, Chairperson. So, Chair, I'll just be brief. Just the Honorable Noy, the question you were asking around Sasolburg and the challenges that we have. In Sasolburg, that particular office, we had a ceiling that fell and damaged a number of things, including some of the cables. So that repairs have been completed. The officials are back in the office in terms of birth registration, death registration, and others. So IT is still completing the connectivity on the live capture system, but we have 2 mobile units that are deployed in that particular office who are servicing that particular community. So I think that's the one issue. And then, Honorable Kharik, the issue of the
the office in George. I'm not sure what are the challenges, because George has got the mobile unit also over and above the office giving services. But nearby, obviously, we've got the office in Platt on the other side, and on the other side, we've got also an operational office in Mossel Bay. But obviously, the issue around overcrowding, we're still dealing with it. That's why we introduced the booking system, so that at least we alleviate people arriving at the same time in the office. So, but we are looking into that particular issue. There is plans to even open another office in what we call the other municipality just outside Mossel Bay. So we are working on that particular plan. And then on the issue of Honorable Pala, on how does the department deal with each square kilometer of the country, the department conducted a geographic access study where we're looking at the concentration of the population and our distribution of our offices. So that's one of the areas that we're dealing with, to ensure that we locate offices where there's high concentration in terms of communities. But obviously, as we move forward with digital transformation and accessibility of services through digital platforms, obviously it will alleviate some of those issues. And then the issue Honorable Machoben raised around Dujwa office. In Dujwa, we were occupying an office there in the Magistrate Court. And around 2023, we were chased out by Department of Justice, because they needed the space that Home Affairs was occupying for renovation. So we couldn't continue to do that. So we provided the services in Elliotdale and Willowvale, utilizing mobile offices on certain selected days. So that's what we are currently doing. But we are looking for an office in Dujwa. We have been offered a space in the newly constructed mall there in Dujwa. And it's a similar issue with Flagstaff. Flagstaff, we've been struggling also to get an accommodation there. Similarly, there is a small center that has been developed there in Flagstaff. So those are the two options that we are looking for, because really, when it comes to infrastructure issues in those areas, we are really struggling to get as much information, as much infrastructure as possible. Public works go out to the market and then don't get, because there's no suitable buildings that are able to offer us. That's why we're also yielding towards those two malls in Dujwa and Flagstaff. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Mavuso. DG?
No, thank you, Chair. You had also asked us to present on challenges in the provinces. Maybe we can do that through a letter to yourself, Chairperson. Thank you.
Yes, what happened is that at least we got the presentation with regards to that. I've noted that some of the questions were actually relating to some of those challenges. And if we need responses with regards to that, would indicate. Because in your presentations, at least it was explained in terms of what is it that it's happening on the ground. With that being said, I would give to Honorable Deputy Minister, then the Minister. And please note, DG and the Minister, that members are requesting that perhaps we must get a submission in terms of different contacts of people in certain positions, so that when we need intervention, we are able to liaise with those people without disrupting ministers or PLOs, but speaking to them directly on things that we get from the ground for intervention. So we would need that submission by the end of today, so that members can have those contacts and the names of those people that we would contact as we do our work. And on the issue of the MOU, I think the Minister can respond with regards to that, the MOU with COGTA regarding sponsorship issues, if you have anything that binds the working relationships when you do this inspection. Over to you, the DM, then the Minister, so that we can close the session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair, and greetings to all the members. of the select committee. And I would just like to thank the members for their inputs. They are very valuable. I think they help us see some of the things that we will not have seen. So it's always good to have yourselves as part of the oversight exercise to make us really delve into matters that we might have lost in the process. Just to deal with the three issues due to time. The first one is that just to remind the members that the Independent Electoral Commission is a Chapter 9 institution. As Home Affairs, we only house them in terms of their vote, which means that when their funds are allocated, they are allocated through us, but we do not exercise any operational capabilities over the IEC. They are responsible for their own operations as a Chapter 9. I think you will understand the importance of their independence on how they manage their programs and how they manage their affairs as a result, how they manage their funding. I think that the select committee can write to the IEC and they can come before the select committee to then present on terms of their operations. We do offer them support when it comes to election times by making sure that citizens have the necessary identity documents for them to go and vote. The other issue was around the servicing of the rural areas. We are doing our utmost best to make sure that we service our rural areas. We have a two-way strategy in which we do it. One is the mobile units that are consistently deployed in various areas, including schools, to make sure that they service children in schools so that children do not need to go to physically to our offices as a result in losing school times. There are schools that we have just recently visited as well. In terms of the rural areas as well, we do visit using the mobile units. I think recently we just did Wanyamazane, we also did Case, but that is also done even without the presence of the executive leadership of the department. It's a consistent approach that we are using. We had added a total of about 100 mobile units from the past financial years, bringing our total fleet to close 200. So I think that the DG has also dealt with the issue of the development of the ports of entry. But safe to say, Chair, that the digital platforms will also be very useful even to rural communities. If you take in terms of the usage of smartphones, it is increasing in South Africa. It is at very advanced level even in rural areas. So we accept that by moving to digital platforms, we'll be able to have more reach and be able to access more clients who will not need to come to us, but will be able to reach us through their smart phones and devices. I know that there is a perception that says rural communities generally do not have smartphones, but research has really proven that we are hovering at very high percentages. And I think by the time we roll this out, will be in better position to service most of our people. Those are just a few issues I thought I must respond to. Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thank you to all members.
Thank you, DM. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair, and to the members for their inputs, as well as to the DM and the department for the responses and the presentations. Chair, if I may just touch on a couple of the higher or broader issues then. Firstly, let me just indicate that my PLO will be in touch with contact details that you requested, so we can take care of that request. I think, Chair, there were a number of issues that were raised in terms of specific officers, and generally they relate to connectivity, they relate to queuing, and the general accessibility of those areas. So in addition to the specific comments and responses that have been given by the department, I think the broader point about expanding the footprint is really the essential one. And I think it was the Honourable Gericke who made the comment about expanding and decentralizing access to services. And I think that's exactly what we're trying to achieve through the documents we've tabled here today. And those things, that increased access will happen through a number of channels. They will not focus on more brick and mortar as a central strategy, They will focus on the expansion of the existing cooperation with the number of bank branches. They will focus on the kiosks. We haven't mentioned those in detail, but of course, getting those up and running will also expand access to those smart ID and passport services. And I think the combination of that with introducing the digital channels that the DM spoke about, including applications through your smartphone or through banking apps that people use regularly, including in rural areas, to transact. The combination, it's really a combination of those factors that is going to deal with the access issues more broadly that members have raised. And I want to indicate that, as you can see from the APP, these are not sort of far off into the future. They're not hypotheticals. Those programs are being worked on and will be rolled out within this particular financial year. So that movement on the ground is something that is very important to us, because ultimately we want to have the clients experiencing a better service and experiencing less of the challenges that members have raised in this meeting. Chair, there was a reference to the BMA. I would assume that we will have a session on the BMA specifically as well, so I don't want to go too deeply into that. Safe to say that I think we appreciate the acknowledgement around also your own experience with the drones, encountering them at the ports of entry. But I think we can all accept that the funding challenges remain very real. And without going into another topic now, I can indicate that we are looking at ways to mitigate that in the immediate term, because we cannot get the best out of the ETA, for example, if we can only get the best out of it if we link it to cameras and automated entry and exit at the ports of entry. And for that, of course, the BMA needs to be able to roll out those kind of initiatives. Just to indicate to the Honourable Nonkunyane, there's no real specific pilot project for when we talk about Home Affairs at Home. Home Affairs at Home is the vision. It's the guiding vision where we want that we see at the end of this journey, where all of those services that South Africans require, but also people who want to legally come to our country, are able to interact with our services from the comfort of their own home, whether that's through a computer or a smartphone, or at the library down the road where they can get Wi-Fi access. That's really the end point that we're working towards. And all of these individual initiatives that will slowly bring Home Affairs services closer to where people live. Again, whether it's through kiosks or bank branches or digital apps, they are all part of that broader vision. And I think the effect of that, again, will be felt when those initiatives start rolling out on the ground in terms of the targets in the APP. Chair, I think that covers the broader topics I just wanted to amplify. And let me just indicate again from our side, appreciate the opportunity to engage. And certainly with those contact details being furnished, please do feel free to raise those issues. We're always happy to assist in the best way we can on those kind of cases. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister and DM. Minister, I thought you were going to commit that by the end of today, we will get the contact details and the organogram for people that would need to contact for intervention. Because I requested that at least that one is there. We know somewhere in your pieces you can just send to our secretary so that it's shared amongst us. However, one is very happy that as we engage on these APPs and budget, we are agreeing that indeed the issue of digitalization and modernization of our services will assist a great deal in terms of services and as well the issue of tourist attractions. We are very pleased as well, Minister, about the improvement that would be done in our provinces, and we want to say that it needs to be spearheaded so that it become an immediate issue, because indeed we know that provinces and local municipalities are at the cold face of service delivery. We are encouraged by the focus on combating fraud and corruption with consequences and law enforcement measures. We further encourage the reform of the visa regime to attract skills, investment, and growth. And we want to speak for those ministers who are 35 and above as well, that as you create employment opportunity, don't forget them by reducing 18 to 35, but say 35 and above must be part of these people would be employed, persons with disabilities as well needs to be employed and get these opportunities. We would like to encourage you to address the backlogs as well of IDs and passports for all citizens to reduce the queues at Home Affairs offices, in particular elders and persons with disability. We further encourage the increase in the department footprint in all provinces to improve birth registration. And we are glad that indeed the CFO has indicated that in our provinces, there are no issues in terms of spending, which is a good sign that they are at work. We appreciate the emphasis on dignified services. This is so important as our citizens have become frustrated with the long queues and backlogs as deliberated by Honorable Nonkonyane. We hope that this issue will find best solutions to deal with it. We encourage law enforcement inspections and we want to really applaud the department by taking cognizance that indeed in those big construction, that's where foreigners are. And we hope such feedback will be given to the society because we see Moja Love 157 overtaking services that we know that these services are being done by our government. So the limitation of speaking when you do such good work in terms of upholding those working with other law enforcement agencies, those who are illegal immigrants, if it's not communicated, we won't see what you are doing. But it is important that you continuously publicize that work. We are further noting that funding pressures on digitalization projects, buildings and facilities, legal costs and security services, it's one of the issues that we must find ways to bestly deal with it. We are encouraged that you have approached Treasury and hope that these challenges will be addressed. We lastly hope that you will improve on revenue collection to assist with the rollout of our programs, aid at improving service delivery. So with no doubt, we hope that when we take this budget to the House, there won't be Lula Balu, where others will be going off ramping or U-turning, but we'll be speaking in one message that we will be supporting this particular budget based on the fact that there's a sense in terms of where we're going. And I really appreciate the tone by the DG as well, Minister and Deputy Minister, noting that most of the work that has been done, it's continuity or continuing work from the 6th administration, of which it really shows that in the department, the sense and sound that we are not starting a department, but we are continuing with the work that has been done by those charged to be public servant and service our people to ensure that better life is for all, but not for the few. We hope that we would move at speed on issues of decentralizing rural services to our people, because the issue of Dujwa, always when we engage with regards to better services, Honorable Monchabeni always likes to make an example that people at Dujwa, for them it's as if this better life, it's far-fetched or they cannot get their services anytime soon. But with what has been presented to us, there's hope that there's a light in the tunnel. With that being said, I declare this meeting adjourned and enjoy your day, members, and be fruitful to the next meeting. Honorable Mochobeni.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Sorry, Chair. Sorry, Chair. I did raise my hand. Sorry.
I didn't see it. I want to allow you. However, I've already closed and we are about to go to 1 o'clock. Remember, we must join Honorable Mukai's meeting, petition and undertakings. So I'm not sure if you would die if you can send me the question so we send to the department as an oral.
No problem, Chair. I was going to assist the department concerning this issue of the asset withdrawal, but it's fine. I will talk aside with you.
Okay, not talking aside, what you can do, you must write to us through the secretary, then we write to the department for a formal response.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay. No, thank you, Honorable Ntobeni, for understanding that when I could have made my closing remarks, distraction would really take us back to the other meeting. So I thank you, members. The meeting is then adjourned.